Are you looking for a new job? Are you scared to go through the job finding and interviewing process? You are not alone, my friend. I have so many clients that are looking for new jobs right now, and I am delighted to announce that I've helped my clients land jobs at Fortune 50 companies in the last month, actually. 3 of my clients have landed killer jobs that they were looking for, and they were really nervous about the interviewing process, and I coached them through it, and they landed their dream jobs. So I'm going to teach you exactly what I told them so that you can use this information for yourself as well. Hi, I'm Deibert. I'm a performance coach for enterprise and strategic account executives. I help my clients with their mindset to clear up all the nonsense going on in their head, and I also help them with their productivity to make sure that they are optimized and they have the tools that they need to get the work done that they need to get done. My sweet spot is people who know what they need to be doing. They have all the knowledge of what they need to be doing. They just can't quite get themselves to do it. And that's where I turn people around. So today I want to talk about interviewing. Interviewing is so tricky because you have all these different games that you're playing. You want to be yourself, but then you also have to be this other version of you that they're going to like. And it's really hard to try to navigate. And there's a lot of people who stay in jobs that might not be the best fit for them just because they're so intimidated by the entire job seeking process. Today, I'm going to specifically break down the interview process for you, and I'm going to teach you the mindset that you need to have going into interviews to make sure that you land your dream jobs. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Okay, so tip number 1 is you have to know that there's no way you would be in this interview unless they already knew that you could do the job. This is so important to wrap your head around. We tend to think that we have got to go in this interview and we've got to prove them that we know what we're doing. We have to prove to them that we can do the job. And so we're trying to figure out how to somehow convince them that we can do the job. And I want to tell you, you don't have to convince them that you can do the job, because there's no way they would interview you unless they already knew you could do the job. Your resume is what gets you the interview. If they believe that you can do the job, that's when you get an interview. So you can go into the interviewing knowing that they know that you know how to do the job. If you've ever been on a hiring team before, or if you've ever been a hiring manager before, think about this. There's no way that you would see somebody's application come across and be like, I don't think they could do the job, but let's just check to see anyway. There's no way. Hiring is the worst. Going through the hiring process, being on the hiring team, it takes up so much time. It's exhausting. You're just trying to figure out if you can find the right person. So if they already don't think you can do the job, there's no way that they would even talk to you. So you can go into the interview with the assumption that they already know you can do the job. You have nothing to prove. The purpose of an interview is to see if you are someone that they want to sit next to. They're asking themselves, is this somebody that I would want to go to a conference with? Is this somebody that I want to sit next to in my day-to-day? Is this someone that would be fun to interact with on Slack all day long? So truly, the only thing you have to think about in the interview is, how do I show them who I am? And actually, all you have to do is just be yourself. That's really it. All you have to do is be yourself. I want you to think about this. If you are someone else and you try to put on some kind of facade about who you are and try to convince them that you're this thing that you're not doing anybody a service, because you might get 3 months into getting this job and you find out this is a horrible fit for you, and they find out that you're a horrible fit, and the person who would be a great fit in that job, that person's at a disadvantage now too. And so nobody wins if you get a job that's not a good fit for you. So the very best thing you can do is be yourself and be who you are and know what you're looking for, and just let that shine through. And if you're a fit, fantastic. And if you're not a fit, that's also fantastic. It's so good to know that you're not a fit, because you would not want to get into a position where 3 months in, you're like, oh, shoot, I'm in this situation I don't want to be in. So this leads me to point number 2. An interview should be 50-50. We all have this misconception of I've got to prove myself. I've got to show them that I'm good enough. I've got to oversell them on who I am. And so we tend to go 90% of the way, and we don't really let them sell themselves on us. But an interview should be 50-50. We should be going 50% of the way and they should be going 50% of the way. What that means is 50% of the time, I'm going to be selling you on why I'm a great fit for this position and why you would be so lucky to have me in this role. Can you even imagine how lucky you'd be? I'm the best. So 50% of the time, I'm convincing you why, like, man, this is a no-brainer. Of course I'm a good fit for this role. But the other 50% of the time, I need you to be convincing me why your company and your team is a good fit for me. It really helps to go into these interviews with a strong level of self-awareness. I take my clients through an exercise where I help them figure out the right environment for them. What is the right kind of company that you need to be working for? And especially, what is the right kind of manager that you should be working for? Who are the managers that you worked really well with in the past? Who are the managers that you didn't work well with in the past? And really honing in on exactly the kind of environment that you thrive in. You're going to do yourself such a favor by being really clear about where you thrive and how you thrive. Once you have this figured out, it's going to be so much easier to go into the interview with the right kind of questions to find out, is this the kind of environment that I'm looking for? Is this a place where I'm going to succeed? Is this hiring manager a good fit for me? Are they someone who's going to be supportive for me? So that 50% of the time, you're letting them know exactly who you are. You don't have to be anything else. You're just showing them who you are. You're showing them what you've already learned. You've shown them all your different skills that you've picked up along the way. And then the other 50% of the time, you're asking them questions to find out, okay, so now you know that I'm amazing, but are you amazing? And this changes the entire dynamic of the interview. Too often, if you've ever been on the hiring team, you've felt this before. I've been on the hiring team many times and interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. And if somebody comes in with that, like, you feel it in sales too. If somebody comes in with that needy, graspy energy of like, I really need this. I really need this. Do you like me? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? Like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good in sales and it doesn't feel good in interviewing. And so when you come into it of like, yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly who I am. And I need to know, are you a good enough fit for me? And not in an arrogant way, but just in a way of like, I have some legitimate questions. I know who I am. I'm very self-aware. I know what I need in an environment. I know what I need out of a manager. And I want to just ask you some questions to make sure you're that. It completely changes the dynamic. They don't feel that needy graspiness. Instead, they think, oh, wow, this is a person who's very self-aware. They know themselves really well. And that's really appealing to hiring managers, at least the kind of hiring managers that you want to be working for. Okay, so point number 3. So many people in sales, I've talked about this in sales calls, I've talked about this in other situations, but so many people feel really insecure and they get into it and they're like so worried about themselves and like, oh no, am I talking too much? Did I say that weird? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I stutter? Like, what do they think of me? Oh no, this is getting worse and worse and worse. And you get in your head and you get all this nervousness and all this insecurity and anxiety. And then you feel like you didn't bring your best self to the table. I have a solution to solve all of that. Something that I came up with in my 20s. I've talked about this in a past video, but if you don't want to feel insecure, the only thing that you have to do is stop thinking about yourself. Sounds easier said than done, but the best way to stop doing something is to replace it with something else. So what I tend to do is rather than thinking about myself, I replace it with thinking about the other person. I think about their situation. I think about what they're going through. I'm thinking like, man, I've been on the hiring team before and it sucks. It's not fun. You see those interviews come up on your calendar and you're like, oh no, another hour of my life that I'll never get back. And I have so much work to do. And what if this person's a dud and I still have to talk to them and all those things. And so I'm thinking about what's going through their head. Like, did their trash spill this morning? You know, like, did they have a hard time? Are they recovering from a holiday weekend with their kids? And I'm thinking about them. And so I'm thinking like, okay, who am I? What is my brand? My personal brand is being very friendly, very empathetic, very open to people, very warm, very authentic. And so I would start out and be like, hey, I know this is probably a lot. You probably went through a lot of interviews. Like, I'm really excited to talk to you and I'm excited to have this time. Can't wait to learn more about the company. I'm going to answer any questions that you have. And like, let's make this fun. Like, I'm going to get to know you. That's what I'm most excited about. I'm very curious about people. So I'm thinking about what's going through their head. And then it leaves no room for insecurity for myself. When I'm thinking about myself, that's when all the insecurity and anxiety thrives. When I'm thinking about somebody else, that's when the insecurity is just gone. And they feel that natural curiosity that I have for them. And so they feel more at ease and they're like, this is somebody I'd want to fly on an airplane to a conference with. This is somebody that I'd want to hang out with. Okay, last tip I want to give you, and it's along the same lines of self-awareness. It can be incredibly helpful and incredibly refreshing for you to be very clear with the hiring manager of exactly who you are not and exactly who you are. And this is like the most vulnerable, intimidating thing you can do. And I promise you it goes over so well every single time. So my personal career, I was at a nonprofit, and then I learned how to use Salesforce.com. I became a certified Salesforce.com system administrator, and I was working in sales operations. And then I moved into Agile. I was a Scrum Master and an Agile trainer. And then I moved into learning and development, and I started building onboarding trainings. But all this to say, I was in learning and development and doing leadership development trainings, onboarding trainings, business development, and I got recruited to interview for a sales enablement position. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But I was like, to be clear, I've never been in sales. I don't think I can teach people what they need to know about sales because I've never actually done the job. I've been in sales operations, so I understand about the job, but I've never actually sold. And so I went into the sales enablement interview and I said, okay, to be clear, if you're looking for someone who can come in and build out the sales training and is fully autonomous, you don't have to worry about them, it's just like everything is taken care of, then I'm not that person. That's not who I am. And if that's what you're looking for, then you're going to be severely disappointed and I'm going to be severely disappointed because it's not a match. However, if you are looking for someone who understands how adults learn and can make very interesting and engaging trainings, and someone who can work with a subject matter expert who can teach me what I need to teach people, and then I can teach them what they need to know, if you're looking for that, then we're going to be a great fit for each other. It can be incredibly helpful to be self-aware at this level and tell them what you are not and tell them what you are. It's like every hiring manager that I've ever talked to about this, they say like, if somebody were to tell me exactly who they are and exactly how to motivate them in the interview process, I would hire them in an instant. Because the manager's only job is to learn how to motivate you. That's it. They're just trying to learn, can you do the job and how do I get you to do the job? So if you just flat out tell them, this is how I'm motivated, this is how to get the very best out of me, they're just like, you just saved me years of my life trying to figure this out. And I appreciate how self-aware you are and how willing you are to be vulnerable. And it may come out that after you do this, they're like, wow, now that you tell me that, I realize like, yeah, this is not a fit for you. And I know that that feels so hard to hear, not stepping out of what the manager would say, but like, I know that like, you're like, oh no, now I'm rejected. Now I didn't get the job. But this is genuinely the best thing that could happen, because otherwise you get into this job and then you find out you're not a fit. And then the imposter syndrome comes up, the self-doubt comes up, the like, how am I even going to find a job that I like? Because I have this track record of finding jobs that are not a good fit for me. Like the best thing that can happen is that in the interview process, you find out you're really not a fit for it, because that's going to save you so much heartache down the road. So going into the interview, telling them exactly who you are and exactly who you're not, and being really incredibly self-aware can be one of the very best things that you can do. And as you do that, you're thinking in your head of the kind of manager that you want. If you're a person who likes to be very transparent and wants to have support of your manager, then being very transparent and seeing if this hiring manager can support you in that can be one of the very best things you can do to find out, are they the right manager for you? Okay. Those were 4 tactics that I teach all of my clients who are interviewing. I hope that they were helpful for you. And I hope that this really helps you change your mindset when you're going into interviews. These tactics have been incredibly helpful for my clients. They help kind of remove this like pressure of performing and being something, trying to convince them that you're something that you're not, and instead letting you just be who you are authentically and let your real self shine through. Who you are, who you're not, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And I promise you, the kind of hiring managers that you want to work for are going to be so receptive to this. They're going to be so delighted. You're going to stand out among a sea of other people, and they'll be thrilled and they'll hire you and you'll get your dream job. You're welcome. Let me know how this goes. If you want more tips, every single week I send out emails with specific tactics for enterprise and strategic sellers to get their mindset right, to get their productivity right, and It's a phenomenal email. You're going to love it. Make sure you get on the list. You can go to mentalmastery.com/newsletter. And otherwise, you can come find me over on LinkedIn. I share tips every single day of how to get ahead, how to reach your full potential, and how to get out of your own way. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.